Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's Golden Drop about cilantro. We're going to talk about an oil that is not usually talked about, um, but it's something that has been used for centuries and is used every day, almost every day, at least in our home, and maybe even not in the oil form directly, but it's one that deserves some attention. It's certainly used a lot for food, and you may or may not realize that it actually aids in digestion. So that's one of the benefits of using cilantro. And it's a convenient format to use it in the essential oil. The essential oil comes from the leaves of the plant. And I don't know if you're aware or not, but the cilantro plant is actually the coriander plant. The English word is coriander. Cilantro is a Spanish word that for some reason got attached to the leaves and stems of the plant. But when you have coriander seeds in your kitchen and you use those for cooking, they actually come from the same plant. And they have a very different flavor, so don't confuse them or assume that you can mix them up and use them interchangeably. But the leaves and stem have their own unique flavor and smell and aroma, and have a very distinctive characteristic. They add a lot of dimension to food when they're used. They're used a lot in Latin American food, and that's why we enjoy it. So you can actually use the oil in place of the leaves if you want in recipes. You need to do it sparingly because, of course, the essential oil has been very concentrated. So that's one way of using cilantro internally. You can also just add a drop to water, like 1 drop to 4 ounces of water, and take that internally, especially after a full meal or something like that, to assist digestion. So that's a good tip. And topically, you can apply it as well. Just make sure that you dilute it to mitigate any sensitivity. A good way of doing that is to use coconut oil, fractionated coconut oil, and that also will keep it on your skin longer. But keep it away from sensitive tissues like your eyes. So with that, for me, and you can also, if you like the smell of it, you can also use it in a diffuser aromatically. You can put 3 or 4 drops in a diffuser. It blends well with citrus. So if you like the smell of it and you like how it adds to that, that's another way to enjoy cilantro. For me, I make salsa all the time. So I use cilantro in salsa as part of our mix. And that's what we do. So does anybody have any comments about that before we go on? Okay.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I really like this for helping with chelation of heavy metals specifically. It's really good to be able to, so if you've had, silver fillings or any kind of other metal fillings in your teeth, or have had immunizations ever in your life, this is a really good one to add to a veggie cap and be able to use lemon with it. And it's really, really helpful for pulling out those extra metals in your system. The same thing with makeup. It will still pull those out because when you use makeup, which many women do, and formaldehyde on fingernail polish and other things, it will pull all of that extra stuff out. So it's a really good thing. You would use that for about 10 days. And you can look up a couple of different recipes, but most of the time it's 3 drops of cilantro and 2 to 3 drops of lemon essential oil. And you do that for 10 days. And obviously you want to be taking Terrazyme at the same time with that, because the Terrazyme will pull extra contaminants out and digest them without hurting the liver and the kidney. So that's my extra tip.
All right, thanks. So, if you were listening to what I was saying too earlier about applying topically or even diffusing, other than liking the smell, why would you put it on yourself unless you're trying to get ready to be eaten by someone? But you know, there are a couple of other things that we haven't talked about yet. So one of those is that cilantro can be used for emotional cleansing, and that is a reason that you might want to apply it topically or diffuse it. It's looked at as an assistance for shedding things that are not in harmony with your true self. So that's another aspect of using cilantro that can be looked at. And things that it could go with in that scenario would be what? Wintergreen, cypress, cinnamon, peace, or cardamom. And that's cilantro. There you have it, in 7 minutes or less. Does anybody else have anything to add? Andrea, you look like you got words coming out your mouth already.
Can you hear me? I cook with it. And one time I was making peanut sauce and I used a whole drop. And it was so terrible that I had to keep putting ingredients in until all of a sudden I had 10 batches of peanut sauce. And then it was perfect. And you can freeze peanut sauce, just so anybody knows, in ice cube trays. And once it's frozen, you just pop them out and put them in something and then take a cube or two when you need it. But if you get, you know, like top ramen, but you can get it baked, so it's not super bad for you. And we take those noodles and cook them in chicken broth and then add a toothpick of cilantro and some Thai vegetables and a can of coconut milk, and it's super delicious.
It does sound delicious, but the lesson that I heard in there was don't use a whole drop. Start with a little bit, right?
Start with a little bit, yeah. So in the soup, when we make it, you put a toothpick in the bottle, and then I swirl it in the soup. Yeah. And in a pot of soup, like a swirl of cilantro is enough.
Yes, I would imagine so. And you can always add more, but it's hard to take away. So start with a little bit of rubbing something on there, like a toothpick is good because it's easy to dip that into the bottle. That's a good idea. We had a case, it wasn't cilantro, but it was another oil where we were adding it to flavoring the other day, and we were putting spinach in the soup. And so what I did is I wiped a spinach leaf on one of the bottles of the oil we wanted to use. So that's another idea. But I know toothpick's common. That's a good one too. Does anybody else have any thoughts? Okay. Well, thanks for being here, everybody. And maybe we'll see you next time.